So, test. Gotta see how loud I have to talk.
Hi, hello, welcome.
Smile like that.
It's a regular smile.
It's crystal clear, we've been on a year, just one stray along the way, but having you by my side makes everything okay. We're watching video clips of all types of laughing out loud, we really hate this crowd, and we don't know where to go, hopefully take it slow. Lots of hustler minds will reject the decline, our approach to life and that, well that's just fine. We wanna let others live because it's none of our biz, until you press your chest upon our mess. There's so many minds, hey I'd like to align, to be out of this place, we want a part of this race. We do what we can, you better tap out man. You're about to pass out or get a pick for the cloud. Why is it so hard out here, they made it so weird. Try to stay woke and humble and joke. It's hard out here. 1, 2, 3, look at the camera. Go. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. Quick episode again because we are in the middle of doing laundry like we originally planned, the way God intended it to be.
Yeah, but it would be much better if it was inside with the cool scenery and stuff.
No, it's so noisy.
The aesthetics are awesome though.
Okay, but then those carts, like, oh, they're so loud. Like, I can't even talk to you when you're like right next to me because they're rolling by and they're just like. Not as like gargly though. It's, you know, obviously it's like metal clanking and stuff.
Yeah.
Not metal. Yeah, but it didn't sound like metal because it's like
it's tile.
The casters that are on it, you know, the wheels, you know, like plastic probably. And, I don't know. Anyways, how's everyone doing?
Same old.
We're well-ish. Been going at it nonstop, it feels like, as always, which is crazy. I don't know how does anyone have time for anything? How do y'all have time for anything? I don't get it. Just doing this. You know, it's so funny, like, I've had so many realizations in the last couple of weeks, few weeks or something like that. Different things I hear from different people. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's so true. One being like, and then they all just left my head right now, so that's awesome as I'm trying to remember this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think people do it through scheduling. Some people are organized. Some people have people they can rely on.
That was one. Someone posted recently, one of our old guests actually, Rocio Cortez, she's a content creator, entrepreneur, and she had posted someone else's reel from someone else's podcast, and they were talking about how running a social media page, it should be a minimum a 2-person job, and that's just a social media page, and you know, let alone a podcast or anything else. And this is literally just us.
Yeah.
And
2 people, we got it.
Yeah.
That's a start.
And it's crazy because I mean we have to deal with like scheduling and then working around all of that, and then creating content constantly, and just trying to like send each other videos and whatnot, and just like, okay, we're gonna use this, we're gonna do that, whatever. Having no ideas really, and just throwing it together. Just shooting our shot everywhere like true Americans.
That is pretty funny.
Oh, bit of my steering wheels right there. Anyways. So, last night we got to go to a comedy show, a free comedy show at Buzzmill Coffee, which was awesome.
It was so good. It was so good.
They had us dying. So I really like this format because the comedians had solid sets. Like they were polished, you know, they were still working some stuff out. You could just tell, you know, like, or I don't know, maybe I could just tell because I follow comedy.
I feel like some also said or alluded to that.
One did, yes. The woman from New York said that she was like, some people are just like so surprised, you know, comedians, they do the same set over and over and over. And I remember realizing that like before the comedy blew up here in Austin, before Joe opened up his comedy club, I would go to Buzzmill for the free comedy, you know, open mics or whatever, and I would see the same people performing, and I'm like, oh, they do the same material, and they're just like working it out. They call it working it out. They're trying different, you know.
Yeah.
taglines or different movements or different tones or whatever, you know, or just, yeah. It was pretty interesting to watch.
Whoa, that is tough work.
Yeah, but I also stopped going all the time because of that reason. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, they're going to be doing the same material, so
Yeah.
I should probably just go out like once in a while.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I kind of just fell off that bandwagon, and then it became a huge, oh man, I have to edit that out, a huge caravan of semi-trucks of comedy. I went from a bandwagon to a kind of caravan. That's what I was trying to get at. Anyways.
Oh, okay. I'm too sleepy for that. I don't think I would have caught it anyway.
And then you forgot to take off your alarm for work this morning, so we both were woken up by it. And I was like, all right, let's get up. Come on, let's go do laundry. Might as well. We're here. Just a lot more angrily.
Yeah, which is fine because then we'll have more of the day.
Yeah, that's how that works. Dude, and then I woke up at 6 a.m., no alarm yesterday, because I knew, I was like, I got to get up and start working on this trampoline. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm going to run into problems. You always run into problems. Yeah, I worked on it for like 5.5 hours all morning.
Wild.
And I was just like drenched in sweat. And
yeah, the whole time.
because there's only maybe from 6 to maybe 7:30 there's shade in the backyard, and then that's it. The sun's like there in that spot where I was putting the trampoline. So I was just like, cool. So I had my long sleeves on, my pants, and my like farmer's hat.
Yeah.
Which didn't really, I mean, I know I'm like complaining a lot about it right now, but like it didn't bother me so much because it was like fulfilling work.
Yeah.
So that was really nice because it was something for the kids, and I felt really good about doing it, and you know. But I was also like having a conversation with myself, telling me like, talking to myself, I guess, just saying like, I'm gonna let these kids know like how much effort I put into this, and I've been up since 6 a.m. and so like they better be grateful.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I'm glad that kept you going.
Yeah. You know, and now that we're speaking to the kids, like I'm starting to think like, because you know how they've been having a lot of conflict resolution issues and stuff. I mean, I hate how people just brush it off as like, oh, well, that's what siblings do, or like, oh, that's how siblings are. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, that is not how siblings are. That's not how it should be. And I get it, like shoulds, oughts, whatever, moral questions and things like that. Very subjective, and we can talk about it all day, blah, 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 whatever. But it is too normalized that siblings just fight.
Yeah.
And argue and treat each other like crap. I don't agree with that premise at all. I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. You treat them how to, or you teach them how to treat each other nicely. You teach them how to take care of each other. You teach them how to be polite. You teach them how to be mannered, and you do not accept the other type of behavior. Like that's how that works. That's how that works.
I mean, it's a relationship that they're gonna have for their whole life. Why would we like want them to be in a toxic one? Like, I mean, they have learned behavior. Sure, they have things that they have witnessed and they're unlearning, but, you know, I'm not going to leave them to figure it out the entire time. Like, some things they've got to work out on their own.
No, of course. I mean, wait, what do you mean you're not going to leave them to figure it out the entire time?
Like,
Sweet.
let them stay in that type of battle within themselves or with each other, I mean.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think that's what I'm saying is like, I don't agree that people just brush it off as like, whoa, yeah, that's so simple. Huh?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that's why that happens, because there's no like course correction. That's why that happens, and then everyone just takes it as normal. And like, that's not how my brother and I were. You know, we didn't have like shouting or fighting in the house, not until much later when there was alcoholism involved, right? And then that's when things kind of got ugly and violent and just toxic. But yeah, it just blows my mind. And so now I'm thinking like, I just need to remember to tell the kids like when they're in any kind of conflict, you have to remind them like, okay, what's the nice thing to do right now, you know? And they can't think of it as like, oh, well, I'm always doing the nice thing. It's like, so what? Then just do it, like, and just accept it and just be that way. Right, exactly. And that's my goal kind of, is to motivate both of them to be that way. Like, for example, let's say they're arguing about who's going to do the dishes, right? And it's like, okay, guys, what would be like, ask them individually, you know, child A, what's the nice thing to do right now? Well, I guess I could just go ahead and do it myself. Cool. Child B, what's the nice thing to do right now? Oh, I guess I could just go ahead and do it myself. Awesome. Then one of you act on that, or both of you do it together, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, think about it that way, you know, like, what's the nice thing to do right now? And we can see how far that gets. But I mean, we've made so much great progress too, you know, just implementing responsibilities and schedules and just like understanding them, trying to get them to realize, like, y'all need to put in the work. I'm sorry, I know they're kids, but like, I've always been a believer of like, you just have to talk to them like adults, because there's no point in like keeping them shielded from the world, you know, and shielded from what they're gonna have to face. And that was another thing that came up recently, like I had kind of alluded to earlier in this conversation, where I've been hearing things where I'm just like, oh yeah, that makes sense, or like things that I've realized now I hear them from other people or other places. And I was listening to another podcast called Diary of a CEO, where they had Eric Weinstein on, and he's a professor, what do they call them? Or they're like high-ranking professors, I can't remember right now, but not important. He had been canceled pretty badly, being accused of being like a racist and things like that. Whatever university he was in, actually, he had notified the police because he was scared for his safety, and turns out that these radical leftist types were organizing, and they were policing him, and they were like, they were armed too. I think I forgot to mention that to you the other night when I was telling you about it. Yeah. And they were like searching for him. They were like on a witch hunt for him or something like that. And of course, so he was scared out of his mind, but the police couldn't do anything apparently. And I don't know how that works, but like, yeah, they could offer no protection. And we're like, cool. So yeah, we need to like essentially protect ourselves. Like, we can't rely on the cops for that. I mean, not that I would want to in the first place, because I disagree with that organization on all kinds of levels, but I understand the necessity of it, sure. But you know, I'd rather just like us be more responsible for ourselves and behaviors and each other and things like that, you know, more anarchist views, of course. And yeah, that was just super interesting to hear him talk about children, and like him and his wife had also taken that similar approach, where like, since they were toddlers, they were like, well, we're just going to talk to them like people. And then he's like, and that really has worked out in our benefit, because they understand things so much better, you know, the older they get. They like, because we've been telling them their entire lives, or we've been talking to them the same way their entire lives. And so that's what I try to do with these kids too, you know. I'm just like, guys, you don't realize, like, once you get out there, there's going to be so many opportunities and like things that you're going to come across and be like, man, I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that. Like, I'm telling you right now, I know it doesn't make sense right now because you don't believe it, you don't get it, you don't have that experience. But like, and I don't like drill it in them so hard to where like, it's like, you have to do this. I just want them to know that way when it does happen, and then they realize it themselves, they're gonna know that I was right. And then be like, yeah, but I'm trying to look out for them too, you know. It's not about just being right.
I know, and they don't know any of that yet, but it's not. We're not giving them the extremity of like the way we're discussing it, and how like it feels like so much pressure to us, but we're just guiding them with information. And there have been so many times where adults, whenever like I was little, they'd be like, you don't get it right now, but you will whenever you're older. Like, we're not even doing it the same way as like our parents did with that sort of like extreme speech. Right. Because that was so like, it's like, what do you mean? But there were some things that was like, oh, okay, I did see that. That's weird.
When you realized what they were talking about, and so when that happens, and I notice it happen in their lives, I tell them and be like, see, this is an example of that. Now you get it because you experienced it. You have a better understanding of it. That's what I was talking about when I was telling you, you don't understand it yet. So there you go. There it is, you know. And so they can understand, like, I'm not actively trying to lie to them or persuade them or manipulate them or anything. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
You know, that's all it is. And oh my God, that is a big one where I'm just like, y'all, just tell me how you feel. Just tell me what you're thinking. Stop trying to beat around the bush. You know, where it's like, what was one example where there was some food in the fridge or whatever, and it's like, why is this in the fridge? Oh, I forgot about it or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, why isn't it covered properly? Now it's bad. Oh, I was gonna eat it. Okay, but were you? And then like we went all the way around, and I can't remember. It was almost a flow state of sequential like points in the conversation, and then came back around finally to where it's like, did you put it in the fridge and you knew at that moment that you just didn't want it and you were not going to eat it? And they were like, yes. I got them to admit. I'm like, okay, next time just tell me that, okay? We could have got there a lot sooner if you were just honest.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad, but if you're going to do something like that, either tell someone else that it's in there to eat it and put it away properly so it doesn't go bad, or just throw it away.
Yeah.
And you know, and then you have to have the conversation of like, it's not good to throw it away because that's money, and that's resources, and we shouldn't be doing that. We can't be throwing stuff around like that. We don't have the funds.
Well, I can identify like why they do this kind of stuff, and they'll learn differently, but like they are in a weird competitive state with each other too. Like they don't want to be like, they're very caring towards each other, but then sometimes they're petty and they're like, I don't want to tell them that that's available and that they could possibly have it.
Oh yeah, they're possessive.
Yeah.
They're so possessive.
And then,
it's bad.
Sorry. Or that, so they go around in a circle because they're used to being in trouble for things. And, it would be, they don't know that there's like a safe place, I guess, just yet with information, because it didn't matter what kind of things they did, it was most likely they were in trouble.
Yeah.
And it could have been for nothing, like anything. And so they don't realize, to be completely honest, yet. But they're definitely learning because, I mean, both of them have exhibited that they're speaking truthfully to you, like an outsider adult, which, you know,
Yeah, it's crazy to watch. And like, I try to, even when I do have to like course correct, I try to make it known like, yeah, I'm upset because I'm human. I'm sorry. It's frustrating, but also like, you're not in trouble. I'm just trying to correct this so it doesn't become a bad habit. I've been drilling bad habit like language. I'm just like, you guys are going to develop, you already have bad habits, and that's going to go into adulthood. Going back to like the way they'll treat each other sometimes with like, you know, sort of violently or manipulatively. I tell them straight up, I'm like, you cannot act that way, because those habits are going to carry on into adulthood, and that's how you're going to treat your partners, that's how you're going to treat your kids, that's how you're going to treat people you live with, but then you're going to act all nice and friendly in the outside world, and we know someone who's been that way, we know someone who's acted like that, right? And then they go home and they treat everyone in the household like crap.
Yeah.
And that's not okay. And we all know what that feels like, and we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be that person who's making others feel the way that person made them feel. Yeah. You know? Like, just trying to make very clear points. Yeah.
It's a lot to take in, so.
It is. Yeah, especially for, you know, their younger minds. Oh my gosh.
So we're cautious. But we have to go put our clothes in the dryer.
Yeah, to do that. Okay. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back. So we just put our laundry in the dryers, and it gives us about 30 minutes before it is done. And I'd really rather be watching CJI right now.
I know. We have so much to catch up on, although I've already seen some things. But I'm still excited to be watching the players and their games, because just such good work. I've enjoyed what I've seen so far. The history, the lore of this creation is fantastic. It's just exciting. I'm a huge fan. Huge fan.
The lore, I think it's interesting that you refer to it that way. It's like
popular right now, people calling things lore.
Yeah. No, I get that. But it's like, it's not lore, it's just like promotions. The promotional, you know, what do you call them?
The marketing aspect?
Yeah, they're, they're not gags, but it's like a
Gimmick?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a gimmick. They're just running freaking gimmicks, like it's and brilliantly too. Like they know exactly what they're doing. This Craig Jones knows exactly what he's doing, dude. Like, yeah, he's on top of it. Actually, heard Gabby speaking about it, and you know, in Brazil things aren't great right now. Apparently, in like her family, the economy's crap, and like, I mean, it has been right for a while, I think, and there's like certain slums in certain parts of Brazil.
Not to speak on it, I'm
sure. But okay, so either way, her family had been affected by it, and they like lost their home, things like that. So you know, she's helping out where she can, and like she wanted to send money to and other like resources to towns or families and things like that that also were in need, who were affected by some sort of recent either economic or political or whatever hardships. And she was essentially convinced by Craig because, one, of the high prize value, and then he also said something along the lines of like, you know, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like that's what I'm doing. Like we should give back to Brazil. Like please, like join us for this event. And then that's when she agreed to sign on. Yeah, but I mean, the rest of the like that backstory isn't gonna sell tickets. You know, what's gonna sell tickets is all the crap he's been pulling.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun rivalry. It came from a good place, and it is used in so many silly ways. And now they're doing like some really cool stuff with it. Like I can't wait to see like how big this gets. They donate everything that they did to the charities that they talked about.
Yeah.
And like they're cool charities. Like that was cool.
Yeah, I really hope so, because it's always like kind of iffy when you deal with charities and whatnot, you know?
Paying athletes, oh my gosh, these people that destroy their bodies.
That's a big one, is paying the athletes.
Paying
like,
athletes.
Huge amounts of money. That is great for all of them. I really like that. I'm so happy for that. It makes me want to do it. I feel like such a little boy all the time when I see things like that. I'm like, oh, I want to do that when I grow up. And then, and
We're all grown up.
Yeah, I'm like 10 years older than like a lot of these guys, you know? I'm just like, oh, man.
Yeah.
It's wild to see. But, you know, good for them. Good for everybody involved. Sucks for us. No, I'm just kidding.
I just get super excited about it. I'm
We're
like,
entertained.
so happy for them.
Yeah.
Like, I feel a sense of like commitment, I guess. Like I
like,
have a sport loyalty.
I was gonna say, yeah, you have loyalty. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's an interest of yours. So,
Gosh, and then when some of them lost, I'd be like, nah!
you get like genuinely devastated by some of the losses or whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get upset too about when injuries occur, because we know how like serious those are, and how much it can set people back, you know, which is like
change their trajectory.
Yeah, I completely agree 100%, because that sucks. Like to just put people out like that is just it's tragic, you know. Like I don't know why people feel the drive and motivation to do that, to just like ruin people's lives essentially. It's crazy.
I think some people were nervous that this might create some problems, because it's such a huge prize that they're not going to tap. They're going to put themselves in danger. But I think the format, because this is a new way to do jiu-jitsu, it's a whole new rule set. I think it helped stop some of that from happening.
I do know that they are concerned about keeping it exciting, because lots of people, especially people that don't know jiu-jitsu, will look at a lot of that and be like, what are they doing? They're not doing anything. They're not getting anything done. But like they're actually constantly working in some way or another. But there is a problem when it comes to like resting and holding positions instead of actively trying for something else. You'll just hold like a pin down or whatever. And it's not wrestling, like it's jiu-jitsu. You have to try to finish it, you know, that's the whole point. And there's a huge argument about that too, debate, you know, between all the different organizations and all of the different types of players and whatnot. So, you know, it's pretty diverse, I guess you could say, conversation that is involved with that. But a lot of the times, like they implemented like the no stalling rule, right? So that's really good. But I think lots of organizations have that one. I always liked the EBI format, the Eddie Bravo Invitational format, because it was very submission oriented. You know, you wanted to go for the finish, no points. Like, who cares about positioning, takedowns, reversals? None of that mattered for the actual, I guess, contest between the two people. And everyone was just like, or the goal was to just try to get the sub, you know? And then a lot of these other Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu organizations, people will focus more on points and control and things like that, because it can win them the matches, opposed to just like trying to go for a sub.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Some people had issue that you would just be stalling throughout the entire regulation time, and then you would just dominate in overtime. So
because EBI does have overtime, yeah, that's a tough one to really juggle, because how do you determine who won the match without like ultimate, you know, decider, which is the EBI overtime, where they allow people a chance to either get the sub by putting them in a advantageous position, and then the person that's in the disadvantaged position a chance to escape. And depending on how long it takes them will determine, you know, who did it quicker, who did it faster, and then that's how they decide the winner. So that was the way they kind of reconciled that, you know, since they have no point system.
They didn't have like a stalling thing in theirs. You could be in the same position for
EBI?
super long time. But they did have the get down rule.
They have a get down rule. You have to get down after what, like a minute?
I don't remember how much time. Probably a minute. I don't think they go for very long. Because, like, we were watching, I think something, WNO? What is it? I don't know. But, and these two grapplers, they're incredible, but they stayed standing for like
stalled.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally just stand-up game. But, like, not a whole lot of movement. They were just like, you know,
just hand fighting, shoving.
Yeah, I was thinking of a word of like they
to-
were in connection, or they were in
They were just doing stand up, trying to off balance each other and to no avail. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
I don't know if I would consider that stalling, but
and that's the thing too, because like it's hard, especially for people that aren't practitioners and they're just fanatics. They want to see action. They don't want to see people stalling. They don't want to see. But like when you actually play jiu-jitsu, you realize like you want to be careful sometimes, you know, and if this is like your career path, you want to make good decisions. Like you don't want to enter too abruptly. You want to make sure you have a clear path to execute so you can get to an advantageous position. Like, and a lot of times guys are just people are just so good at preventing those things, you know, and it becomes like a stalemate. You know, it's really hard, and you have to take risks. And of course, the athletes don't want to do that because that's like their career path, and they don't want to screw it up, right? They're being cautious, and so it's understandable. But yeah, it doesn't make for a great show. Yeah, you know, it happens once in a while in MMA, even. You know, people will boo the athletes, and like I don't like that because, you know, there's another argument out there where it's like, yeah, well, it's like this middle-aged, like unhealthy individual, like shouting at the screen, like, what a punk, like I wouldn't let that happen to me, or you know, whatever. And it's like, I don't know, especially the people that don't train. I'm like, I don't think you realize what you're saying at all. You have no idea how difficult it is once someone grabs you and gets a hold of you. You are rendered nearly helpless, and then you have to train to learn how to evade that, and you have to train to learn to escape once you do get in those positions too.
Yeah.
And it's so much work. It is exhausting. But it's good stuff.
Yeah, I was upset whenever they were booing at CJI. I was like,
Yeah.
how dare you?
And that's unfortunate.
How dare you?
But see, and as a business entrepreneur like Craig Jones or whatever, you know that. You have to know your audience, right? And so he also has to advocate for more action, because he knows people aren't going to want to watch or participate or donate or, whatever else, contribute in some way if they're not entertained. It's the age-old, phenomenon of we have to stay entertained because we are a leisure society.
Yeah. Man, but some cool jiu-jitsu, very cool.
Yeah, super high level. And it blows my mind how well some of these people are able to end it so quickly too. I'm just like, whoa, because that's like 2 high level competitors, super high level practitioners, and they're just ending it super quick. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And there was also one individual who wasn't even a high level jiu-jitsu practitioner. They're an active D1 wrestler or something like that, actively competing still.
Yeah.
And then they have a match coming up, recently or soon, something like that. And yet they were competing at CJI.
Yeah.
And they were not able to get any significant advancement.
Yeah.
But their defense was just
yeah, they also didn't get got.
Yeah, exactly. it was fine-tuned, a high-level black belt in jiu-jitsu was not able to submit this wrestler and could not get an advantageous position, because wrestling, is a lot of you don't get pinned. You don't let your opponent control you. You do the controlling. You get the advantageous position. You hold them down and stuff like that. So seeing those 2 styles clash is super interesting for the knowledgeable viewer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the black belt definitely had some upper hand positions. Definitely some positions that were. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. They were advancing on them,
yes,
for sure, but it just wasn't to completion.
Wasn't to completion, and they weren't able to hold it long at all either. That's what I'm talking about. The wrestler was just so good at evading and escaping, quickly and instantly. And it's just well, yeah, the black belt was constantly on the attack, sure, and going for all sorts of finishes, but just couldn't get it. And then you have to consider that it's no gi, so there's nothing to grab onto, and then they both ended up shirtless, so then they're all sweaty and slippery, and it's just yeah, what do you do then? There's no strikes involved. You have to grab them and submit them somehow, put them in a lock or choke or whatever, and it's harder when you're slippery and sweaty. And so that's another aspect of the game that I don't know that I guess you also have to train, you have to figure out, okay, what do I do when this happens now, when they're slippery? There are certain things that you probably shouldn't even go for, because there's no way you're going to get a grip on it.
Yeah, your grips really come into play. How do you, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's just so much involved. There's so much involved,
Hooks and grips around the body. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, no gi essentially is a lot of underhooks, right? Underhooks, body locks, a lot of wrestling holds too, because wrestling, there wasn't any gis involved either. You're literally having to bear hug or chin strap or necktie and stuff like that. Different types of holds, and so no gi is really good for that, for implementing those wrestling tactics, But seeing them clash like that at such a high level is just super entertaining for us, and anyone who practices, I'm sure.
Oh gosh, I was geeking out at work. Whenever I got to step away to do some paperwork stuff, set on my little phone, and I was just in there
Yeah. Yeah, I got excited too at work. I was like throwing up my hands and stuff because I don't know. I don't like to draw attention to myself because I just want to be left alone at work. But sometimes like I do things and then of course it catches people's attention. And I'm just like, oh god damn it! Like,
Yeah. Oh gosh,
Trying to keep
anybody
in my
that
world.
was nearby, they were like, "What'd you watch?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "It's." And I'd have a whole bunch to tell
Oh
them.
my god.
And yeah.
No, I'll usually tell people, I'll be like, don't worry about it. I don't want to be like, it's none of your business. Like I tell you all the time. It's
Yeah.
none of your business.
Yeah. But it is my business.
Yeah, well with you it is because obviously we're like a unit. We're bonded through the birth of Christ or some crap like that.
Through time.
I'm just kidding. Man. Oh yeah, we're bonded through time. Through the expansion in space that is time. Yeah. That was a super interesting conversation too. I don't remember her name, Sarah Imari or something like that. I don't remember, but she's like a super smart person that has a lot of really interesting things to say, and I love her like really super objective, skeptical approach and view to things. She does concede to the notion of a initial prime mover, which comes from like a cosmological argument, I believe, in philosophy to determine whether or not there is the existence of some sort of creator or designer or what have you. So she does concede to that notion. At least she's alluded to that recently in some of her posts. But other than that, like, she's a brilliant person. Like, god dang, so smart. I could
Really great
listen
to
to
listen
them.
to.
Yeah, talk about things for a long time.
You were right, Imari Walker. She's an
Walker.
astrobiologist.
Astroevolutionary biologist, because her focus is the origins of life and trying to apply that into to like the known universe, you know, and considering the unknown possibilities, right? Or at least what you might deem as possible, because that is an interesting notion in philosophy too. It's like, well, we don't really know what's possible until it happens. So we can't, anything before that is going to be pure speculation and presumptuous. So that's funny how, and we do it all the time. People don't realize it in like everyday conversation and stuff. Everyday conversation and like human interactions are so sloppy, you know? Yeah, and so
Gosh.
it's difficult when you study things like argumentation and syllogisms and sound and valid arguments, or even statements and things like that, and tautologies and what have you, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. And you just like see fallacies left and right all over the place, you know, constantly. And then we're all guilty of it too, but I do make an effort to try not to be that way. I try not to engage in any fallacies myself, but you know, it's everywhere. It's so freaking crazy, man. And I think for me, it's so important because I guess I could be considered like, I guess a realist, but also a naturalist too. But I'm also a compatibilist to some extent, where like I will embrace the mystery and the unknown, but only as that, and I will not really speculate any further than that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will allow it, and if, you know, shown, I think it's empirically, yes, if shown empirically otherwise, you know, I have to err on the side of, I don't know. And that was one thing Sarah had said too, which I loved, like, finally, dude, because a lot of times people that Joe has on his show really frustrate me because they concede to really silly ideas, in my opinion, and Joe himself too. But she was just like, I think it's okay to say that we don't know, you know? She's like, as a scientist and,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
and an empiricist, like, I have to say that I don't know. I don't know if empiricism is the correct study or school of thought. I'd have to check on that, so I'm gonna do that, and I will put a little note right there to say, oh, this is what I was talking about, not empiricism or whatever. But anyways, yeah. That's been really fun for me recently. I really enjoy that.
That was really good. Thank you for sharing it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Because, you know, I need that kind of stuff.
What kind of stuff?
Mind expanding.
Mind experiments?
Yeah, I guess.
Mind exercises?
Yes,
Yeah.
mind exercises. And also to listen to people that, like, speak so well and have a lot of information to share and do it in such a great way that it's easy to take
Digest,
in.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's super important, especially in... Well, I think it's super important anytime you have, like, a dense population, you know, an overload of people where there's just so much going on. And, yeah, man, my mind's going, like, in 5 different places right now.
It's
And
funny because I thought, like, I love sharing things with people. Like, I really enjoy coaching. I really enjoy training. But I have a very hard time with, like, communicating. So... yeah, I mean, I guess I just stick to what I know, and I'm able to talk about those things sort of okay. I mean, like, even stuff that I love, I can't really communicate it well sometimes. But I spent, like, 2 minutes trying to describe something, but had nothing to say. But yeah, I just really enjoy doing that.
I think, I don't know, I can't really speak on that too much other than, like, what I experienced, right? And it's like, I always try to just keep it simple. As simple as possible. I don't try to use flowery language. I try to stay away from, in my opinion, nonsensical terminology that is very, like, woo-woo-y or spiritual and stuff like that, or supernatural and all those kinds of things. I try to keep it very, like, concise and straightforward, you know?
Yeah, I definitely have that woo. I'm all
Based
like,
in reality.
Yeah. Like, no, use a little bit of magic. Use a little bit of your brain magic.
Yeah.
Use a little bit of your environment magic.
Oh, man. It, like, I don't know. I hate the word magic so much. But, like, I get what people are saying when they say it. But then again, if you actually ask someone what they mean by that, you're going to get a different answer from everybody.
You might get some similar concepts or ideas.
Maybe. It's funny. I mean, the same thing with spiritualism. People have different understandings of it. They have different expressions of it. And it's hilarious because then it's used as this, like, umbrella term. And I'm like, it's not an umbrella term at all. Everyone has to mean something different.
Let us know. What is magic?
Is so silly, and it's bad for communication because if we're not talking about the same thing, well, then we're already off to the wrong foot, you know. And that's the problem I have with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, I don't know, but you know, like people like Ben Shapiro, who most leftist liberals hate Ben Shapiro for sure. Leftists hate Ben Shapiro. I don't know if I consider myself a centrist or I'm just, like, more forgiving. I don't know, when it comes to people's positions and sides.
Which is very interesting because you are so, like, harsh and judgmental too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's like, and you're like,
of course.
Stay away from me.
Yeah, because I have my opinions, you know, about it. But, like, I also believe in freedom. You know, and I believe in people...
Like, well, that's your right to do that.
Yeah, I believe in their people's autonomy to, like, believe and choose what they want, you know? So I'm like, yeah, sure, we can disagree. We can have a conversation about it if you want, but... like Ben Shapiro, you know, he is a POS in my opinion. I'm just kidding. I just don't like him, but I'll listen to what he has to say because I think he does it very well. Whatever he's saying, he's very articulate and he's very knowledgeable, you know, and he makes really good points all the time. I don't agree with him all the time. And that's just how that goes, you know?
I don't know enough.
Yeah. He's conservative as conservative gets, you know, and he's a practicing Jew, you know, and he's a Zionist, and it's like... That's fine.
Bummer.
That's fine, but he's, like, very intelligent. I don't think he... I don't want to say anything about Ben, because then I'm sure he could... Well, I don't even know. Sometimes I feel like I can have a decent conversation with them, but I know they're going to make really quick, concise points than I can in real time because they just have so much practice at it. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe I'm making excuses for myself. But yeah, it's super interesting because, like, fundamentally, I think there are things that I know for a fact because he is so intelligent would understand. He just would disagree, and I'm sure he has his reasons why he would disagree, and then we would have to get into the conversation thereafter, right? But you know.
Should you start getting into
Good stuff.
debates? Should you like go find a space?
I've thought about it, but then I don't want to because I'm just like,
I just feel like it would be a good experiment. I mean, a good learning situation for your brain. Like, I feel like you would just be fine tuning what you do.
well, I mean, I kind of already do that just by like listening to all these debates and watching, you know, and listening to their podcasts and hearing what they say and how they think and how they speak and all that kind of stuff. And,
Yeah, but now you need practice of it.
I don't think so, because unless I'm going to be making money from it, I don't really see a use.
It's just some some doing of life, I guess.
Yeah, I take that back. Not that,
Fulfillment.
not that I don't see any use, because I do find it useful in my day-to-day, especially on how to think critically about things and how to have my own opinions and make up my own mind and not having anyone else tell me what to think or believe, because a lot of people do that in our society and they don't even realize it. And that's frustrating. I hate that the most, because I'm like, you're your own individual, autonomous being, act like it. And stop bandwagoning. But, you know, whatever. Tomato, potato, enchilada. And also, yes, to see, like, I go to that place where I just get silly and, like, I don't care and I don't want to concern myself about it because I'm going to get frustrated and I don't want to be there.
Well, then maybe it's a practice of like working through that. Like, you're like, I'm not going to get
zenning
frustrated.
through.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, it's just chill out.
Yeah, but for
Take
why?
a chill pill,
But for
bro.
why? What's that gonna gain me? I'm just kidding. Other than like peace of mind and control of my emotions.
It's like kind of well-roundedness.
Yeah, but again, like it kind of goes back to like it doesn't make me any money, and I need more money because that's the society we live in, and like I needed to have that utility.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So it's fun as like your little hobby, but not really like a practice. Like we're gonna go back to jiu-jitsu practice. Like that's something we're gonna do. And
yeah, it's just something that like I don't know makes my brain spark.
it's fun. I like it.
Yeah.
It's not something I think I put a lot of time or effort into, but I wish I would have. I was very more like, I just want to do whatever.
Yeah.
I just have fun.
And you and I are very similar in that aspect too, because that's how I am as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but you did it by being like, but also being smart at the same time. I was just like, I don't want to. I was like, I don't want to be bothered. I was like, no.
See, I still don't think I'm smart. I really don't. I am such a dummy. And like, I don't remember facts and references and things like that, you know. I just keep it very general and broad because again, like it's not making me any money, so why even waste my time with that information and like
that's too bad that
try to retain it.
That's what we have to be dealing with, that it's like we have to consider, is it beneficial to us like monetarily or can it just enrich our lives just because it does? We have to like pick wisely.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work too, though, because even you know, since I was a teenager, I grew up in the church, and I would get into these like I guess quote unquote philosophical discussions all the time, you know, and so that's where some of my interests laid, and but I just like kind of got over it a lot quicker for some reason, or I got over it quickly for some reason. And I was like, I just want to chill. I just want to hang out, like whatever. I don't care about these things. But then, of course, like something like a question like, does God exist, just constantly plagued my mind because I grew up in the church, you know, and had that influence and motivation. So I was just like, I need to know. I need to like try to see what I can figure out here. And, you know, I've come to the conclusion that, yeah, probably not. And so I've just been riding that train for a while, and it's not without due diligence, you know, because I am still trying to listen to everybody's side of things, all the theists and all the smart people talk about it, and I'm like, yeah, I still can't agree at the end of the day. It's funny to me, like concepts of free will. Because like you don't get to choose what you believe. I'm not convinced you get to choose what you believe. You're either convinced or you're not. And you have no control over that. I don't know if you can actively choose to like, I'm just gonna believe this. I haven't tried that. But I think if you do that, you're not being honest with yourself.
Well, you're having to tell yourself that you choose that. But how does that come about? Like, how did that come to you? Yeah.
But even then, yeah, you have information and you either believe it or you don't. Like, I don't see how you have control over that, really. You know, unless you do some further investigations, in which, again, you're not going to have control about what you decide at the end of the day. Something's either going to convince you or it's not.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know, notions of free will. I don't believe in like what they call libertarian free will, right? But I am a compatibilist, so I believe we do have like the delusion of free will, because we act like we have free will every day, every second. Like, I'm not thinking about, and this is something that Ben Shapiro and Alex O'Connor were discussing recently in one of the debates I watched. You know, like, your biology, you don't wake up thinking, oh, my biology is driving me to get up now and go brush my teeth and get ready for the day now. No, you wake up and you're just like, I'm gonna go brush my teeth now. I gotta get ready for the day. That is a choice that you are making. So it's like, that's the compatibilist, you know, version of it. It's like, you don't fundamentally believe in free will. I don't even know if I believe in wholehearted like determinism quite yet, because Sarah made a really good point about that, in that like, there are things that we can construct from the past and say, okay, that was determined because of A and B, which gave you C, but it's hard to determine that for the future. But then again, I go back to the idea of like, well, if you have A and you have B and nothing's changed about A or B, how can you get something different?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you said
right.
that.
So, and that's what I'm talking about, how I like to keep things really simple, because it's basic logic, you know? A plus B equals C, or like P equals P. If not P, then not P, or whatever. I don't know. That probably was a messy and incorrect syllogism, but I mean, that's how I kind of make sense of it in my head. But, you know, either way, yeah, they're just variables, you know, and you can really, in my opinion, break everything down to that.
I want to do math again. I really liked algebra.
Yeah, then it's so funny. I hate math.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I enjoy math.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I think I've said this. I feel like I tell everybody this.
No, what'd you tell?
Oh, just that I want to take my time with math. I want to be sitting down with math. I don't want, like, deadlines kind of suck. Like, having to go
deadlines are stupid.
fast and rush yourself or whatever. I guess it'd be cool if your brain is able to do that, like on a quicker time frame, but I also want the time. I want to be able to give it time and do it correctly. But I super enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's useful though, you know? And then math is the language that we've math is the language that we assigned to the universe.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy, you know, just numbers. Gave it a value, or like, I mean, it's interesting that when you start to consider, like, is that an innate value, or are we just making it up, like, because there's one of this thing, and then you have another one of that thing, and then you get two of that thing. Is that an innate value or trait, or is it that something that we're just making up? And that's really hard to determine and figure out, you know.
Our clothes are dry.
Oh, yay, okay. Thanks for joining my TED Talk. I'm just kidding. I think
we have some guests coming up.
We have some guests coming up, hopefully
Love
soon.
reaching out to people. Love people reaching out to us.
Yeah.
It's been cool.
Oh, we didn't talk about like the comments that we've been getting. Things like that. They've been hilarious. Thanks for that, though. That's been fun.
Yeah, we really appreciate your kind words and constructive criticism.
Kind words. They've been hateful words, too. It's been hilarious.
Yes, but everything that everyone says is kind because they're commenting.
I think, do you mean it's helpful?
No, it's kind.
It's kind. Oh, okay. I don't agree with that. I think maybe we have a different understanding of kindness.
No, it's just being silly.
Oh, okay. Oh, God.
Appreciate your kind words.
I appreciate your hate. That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
I feel very accomplished that somebody would hate me. Like,
Yeah, getting noticed.
Oh
It's
my
like,
gosh.
oh, maybe we're doing something right.
you called me a boy.
Called you ditto. That was my favorite one. No, my favorite
That one was good.
My favorite one was these gays look related. I was like, that is awesome.
We totally don't, but that's a very
No, I
good
could
one.
see that. I could see how people
Really?
would say that. Yeah, because we just have like squared
jaw?
sort of faces. Yeah.
A lot of people have jaws
We're related.
that are
Sure,
square.
but people are, quick to make observations and patterns, and we're pattern recognizing machines. I forget what that phenomenon is called, but yeah.
That's a cool one.
Yeah. And keep it simple. Our brains do the best job it can to simplify things so life is easier for us, existence is easier for us. And it'll go so far as to lie to us too. Our own frickin' brains will lie to
that
us for the
silly?
sake of convenience and easiness. Yeah.
Wow, self-preservation.
It's so weird, right?
Yes.
But then again, you have to wonder, is that just a characteristic trait that we're assigning to the brain? Is that what is really going on? It's the problem between like a prescriptive description, no, it's the problem between prescription and versus description, which is a philosophical, school of thought and debate. It's interesting, yeah.
I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's loaded. Everything is. But yeah.
Cool.
Thank y'all for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye.